Hi, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for coming back. If you are new to my channel and my space for the very first time, my name is Becca. I'm a registered nurse currently practicing in the United Kingdom. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some questions that you should expect if you are going into a management role here in the UK. And as you guys know, I've just landed a band 8A job in the UK, and the preparation that I went through, I have shared some of them, and as per popular request, some people were asking me to talk about some of the questions that I was asked whilst I went for my interview. So I've put together 10 questions that were asked because I didn't go for one interview. I went for a couple of interviews. So I have kind of like searched through across board the popular questions that were asked in both places, and then I've put them down in today's video. Let me just state that before you go to apply for any job, being it a band 7, band 6, whatever promotional job that you're going to apply for, try to have a look at the job description and person specification for that job. Sometimes your employer or the recruiter or the HR can be kind enough to send you the job description for you to have a look, because what you want to do is to apply for a job that you can be comfortable and efficient to function in without going through any pressure, because the workload is going to be much for you. Maybe it's quite different from what you are used to. They want you to be familiar with what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis so you can have an idea, because based on this, some of the interview questions are going to be derived. Also, try to go online to read resources about successful managers or people that have successfully managed companies or people, and try to understand what they actually did to be successful in that role, because that will give you an idea when you go for your interview how to assay your interview really. All the nurse manager interview questions are centered around 5 key points. Number 1 is leadership. Number 2 is general management. Number 3 is relationship. Number 4 is health and safety. The last but not the least is practice expectations. So in terms of leadership, you have to understand how to manage people or how to lead a team or a group of people. Practice expectations are things pertaining to your NMC, your PIN, qualification, and how to support other people or other staff who also have a license to practice. The next is relationships. So you're going to look at how to effectively deal with a group of people, how to maintain positive relationship with a group of people, because you're going to be leading people and coordinating activities at the same time. Next is general management. So you're going to be looking at how to generally manage something. Finances. I remember one question that was asked is how to, if I knew anything about payroll. I didn't know anything about payroll at that time, but it's something I'm going to be asking you, finances, and it cuts across everything. How are you going to manage occupancy? If, like, let's say the home is running at low occupancy, how are you going to maintain high occupancy? How are you going to maintain logistics? How are you going to maintain general management? How are you going to manage the home? The next is health and safety. How you are going to make sure that your health and safety is top notch, as well as the health and safety of the people you are looking after, and the staff that are under your supervision are also healthy and safe within the workplace environment, which includes conducting risk assessment. So without wasting any of your time, let's go right into the 10 questions that I have handpicked. The first question is going to be, how do you ensure equity and diversity at workplace? Because the UK is very diverse. There are people from all walks of life, people from different backgrounds. You've got the African, you've got the Caribbean, you've got the English, you've got the Eastern European, you've got people from all walks of life coming together in a workplace. How would you ensure that there is equity and there is diversity? Meaning that how would you ensure that people are being treated the same? Not the same, but based on their needs, their expectations. And how would you not be biased towards people from all walks of life? There are people with different sexuality that are coming to be working under your supervision. How are you going to make sure that you're going to be working with these people? The number 1 tip is to tell your interviewer that you are going to do this being non-judgmental. So you're not going to be judgmental about people that are around you. You're going to include people. Maintain that inclusiveness, let everybody feel a part of the team, feel welcome, feel that they really matter in the workplace, not being biased and not making them feel like they're being discriminated against. So this is what you're going to be looking at in answering such a question. The next question is, how do you maintain effective communication? Because you're going to be dealing with the multidisciplinary team, you're going to be communicating with the local authorities, because maybe you've got a residence that is local authority funded. You're going to be communicating with the local authorities. You're going to be communicating with the residents and their families. You're going to be communicating with the staff. that are under your supervision. You're going to be communicating with your manager, relaying information to your manager. You're going to be communicating with the GP, the SALT, the dietitian, the tissue viability nurse, the community nurses. You're going to be communicating with a lot of people, so you have to maintain effective communication. How are you able to do this? So you should be somebody who can communicate effectively in the English language, both written and verbal. You should also be somebody who can pick up on communicating with, the body language, the eye contact. And you should also be somebody who is like top notch, checking emails, responding to your emails, following up on stuff, phoning people to communicate. It's not just meeting face to face, but just picking up the phone to communicate with people, introducing yourself, putting up that smile, being an attentive listener, listening to people, letting them talk, not talking over people. So maintaining that good communication. The next question is, what do you know about this role and why have you applied? And that is why from the beginning of the video, I told you that it's better to look at the job description of the job that you have applied for and understanding what the job is about. Asking yourself, why have I applied for this job? Is this something that I can do? Because what you don't want to do is to go into something that is not for you. It's not meant for you, okay? Not just because you want the job, but something that it should be meant for you. You should be ready for the job. So look at the job description. If they don't send you the job description, you can go online. Let's say you are applying for a clinical lead role, a senior staff nurse, a band 6 role, a band 7 role. Go online, look at the resources are there. So go online, look at the job description of like a ward matron. You want to become a matron, you want to become the ward manager. Go online, look at the job description written there, and then try to assimilate. Ask yourself, how do I fit into this job role? Do I see myself being effective in the job role? So when they ask you, you can say that I know that this job, involves maintaining a safe work environment and managing people through effective communication, managing people from diverse backgrounds, maintaining a positive work environment, and making sure that my service users and everybody that's under my supervision and under my care is being well looked after. And why have you applied? I have applied for this job because I feel like I am passionate. I've got the enthusiasm and everything that it takes to do this job effectively and efficiently. The next question is, this job is a very busy role. How do you intend to maintain or manage your work schedule? Because you know that sometimes you might, they might say that you are going to close at 5, but by 7 you are still there because maybe an incident has happened or something that you need to wrap up with or finish up with. How do you intend to manage your work schedule? Because there are some people, immediately they are overwhelmed or they are stressed, they don't give out their best, and they become very grumpy and all of that. So how do you intend to manage all of this? I answered this question by saying that first of all, I'm a very organized person, and when I am working, I try to organize my work. I try to set up a list and then work it out in order of priority. So let's say I've taken over, I'm going to start my work schedule today. There's going to be a CQC inspection, there's going to be a PDR for my staff or supervision for my staff. I've got an admission to do. I've got trainings to do for my staff. I've got an interview to do. How do I prioritize? Which one comes very important? The first of all is that CQC is coming to inspect. I have to make sure that the paperwork is done. You have to go through the paperwork. You have to, delegate, know how to delegate things to people, and this also boosts the confidence of your staff. So not just doing everything by yourself. So writing down your schedule and then working the schedule, downwards in order of importance. If you're not able to finish your work schedule, you can always carry it over to the next day or allocate people, to do the ones that they are competent in doing, so that they can give you feedback as and when needed. And then after you've finished work, after you've gone home from work, you try to have a social life that will keep you engaged, busy, happy, so that you are revitalized and you are re-energized to come back the next day to give out your best. So this is how you can approach such a question. The next question is, tell us about a change you have implemented and how you went about it. So they are trying to look at the fact that you might be, let's say, a band 5, but you should have implemented a change. Because if you have this leadership mindset, that is why from the beginning of the video I said that start seeing yourself in that position, because that is what is going to help you or assist you to start doing things that leaders do. So in as much as you're band 5, maybe you've implemented a change. It doesn't matter how small that change is. So let's say, for instance, at first, for example, at first, any patient that comes into your care, you just receive the patient into bed and then you start your paperwork, you make sure they're comfortable. But when you came, you realize that sometimes you receive patients and they've got multiple skin damages, they've got moisture lesions that are not documented, let's say from A&E, that's been handed over to you. So you implemented a change of saying that, listen, any patient who is handed over to us, we are doing a thorough skin check and doing our body map right from the admission day. So you implemented that change, you communicated that to your ward manager, put it somewhere, write it down, because this is a change you have implemented. So that is what they want to know. Have you ever implemented any change, and how did you go about it? How did you manage a colleague that you didn't go well along with? So let's say you were working with somebody, there was a lot of friction between you and that person. How did you go along with that person? Let me give you a typical example of myself. I worked with this colleague that you know, was very, we'll say, intimidating, and whatever you do doesn't please this person. We've got people who are naturally like that. If they don't put their hand to do that thing, it's never done the right way. Even if you pour out your liver to do the thing the right way, as far as they didn't do it, it's never done the right way. And this person really bumped into people because she would leave her unit and come to your unit and try to look at what you are doing. Are you doing the right thing? You know, even though they are not working on that unit. So I take a step back and realize that, you know what, this person, we are colleagues. She's not superior over me, but this is just her lifestyle. So I made her understand that, listen, we are all colleagues. We've got the same qualification. You are not my superior. You're not my senior. But if you feel like there is something that you don't understand about my work, ask me. Don't go behind my back, you know, trying to like check on what I'm doing. The moment you begin to do that, I feel like you are stalking me, or, you know, like I begin to have this negative attraction. So don't do that. We sat down, we understood our differences, we understood ourselves, things began to work out. If you feel like it doesn't work out or it didn't work out, even after you have approached this person, you can escalate it to the next person. So in such a question, what you would want to do is that you would want to tell your interviewer that the first approach you used was to highlight to the person that you didn't get along with why you didn't get along and what was causing that friction or that tension amongst the two of you. If it is something that both of you can work together, sit down and work together. If it's something that you cannot work together, escalate it to a senior who can listen to both sides, not being biased, and trying to, you know, fix that for you. So this is how you can approach such a question. The next question is, what kind of leader are you and how will you use these leadership skills? Because you know that we've got several types of leadership. We've got the laissez-faire, we've got the democratic, we've got the autocratic. What kind of leader are you and how are you going to use the skills? You want to be a democratic leader. You want to be the kind of leader that is going to listen to people and not write them off. You want to be that kind of leader that is going to involve inclusiveness, making people feel or have a sense of belonging, knowing that this is a place that we've come to work. This is our safe place. This is a place that we feel like we belong. So not writing people off or not, you know, discriminating against people. And that is when your equity and diversity comes into play. So you're going to tell your interviewer that you are a kind of person that is, you know, a democratic leader. You are open to listening to people. You are not judgmental. You include or you involve yourself in equity and diversity. You engage people from all different backgrounds for them to be able to feel safe to, you know, share whatever experience that they are bringing on board. The next question is, how would you manage people who are resistant to change? As a leader who is going into a new role, you will find yourself in introducing certain measures or certain practices or certain change that is not everybody that is you know, used to. Like, so let's say, for instance, you've gone to a workplace, they were using the paper chart or they were using the paper and medication administrative record, and you are going to be introducing an electronic medication record. Or there is this training that you want them to do, which is more of like computer based. Somebody is not comfortable with using the computer, so they are resistant to change. What you want to do is to understand why they are resisting the change. First of all, what is the change about? Is it a change that is not familiar? Is it a change that is very vague? Is it a change that is not practical? You want to understand what kind of change you are bringing on board. You have to communicate this change to stakeholders as well as the people you're going to manage. So tell them beforehand that this is the change that we are going to be introducing. The next thing you want to do is to support them through the change. Because if you don't support them through that change, they are going to definitely resist it. So if it is training that you want to offer to them, you have to offer them training that will let them understand how to use, let's say, an electronic mark chart. You want to do like a robust training session where you're going to be teaching them how to use this equipment. If it is care plan writing, let's say a new system has been introduced on how to do risk assessment and how to write care plans, you have to include your staff, you have to train them, support them, give them that supervision that they need to be able to do this change. So if you've got a group of people who are resistant to change, you have to be able to manage them by first understanding what change you are bringing on board, secondly, involving your staff to be able for them to be able to be receptive towards the change, and thirdly, supporting them through that change system. The next question is, how do you handle controlled drugs from its prescription to it being disposed? So the time from the time it enters the home to the time it leaves the home, basically. So let's say a CD has been prescribed by the doctor. First of all, the CD needs to be prescribed, yeah? So you need to have either an electronic prescription or a paper prescription. If the CD was electronically prescribed, you have to order for a paper. If it is a controlled drug, you have to order for a paper prescription of that controlled drug, because you need to evidence it, not only electronically. So tell the doctor who is prescribing that you have electronically prescribed this controlled drug, but I will be very grateful if you can add a hard copy of that prescription. If that controlled drug is brought to the home, you have to make sure that whoever is delivering the controlled drug is coming from an identifiable company. So probably they've got their name tag on, because they need to sign. So you need to receive the drug with the person. They'll give you like a book, you know, to enter your details. Whoever is receiving, you enter your details and your designation, your job title and all that. After you've received the controlled drug, you get a colleague who is also a licensed professional to receive the controlled drug with you. So you get in your book, your controlled drug book, you put in the medication, the time, the date that it was received, the kind of medication it is, the strength, the form that it comes in, the quantity, and then you double sign. So you and your colleague double sign. After you have done this, you write the expiry date. You take note of the expiry date of the medication, right? Then you keep it under lock and key. You lock it, you keep the key somewhere in your pocket. So after the medication has been used or whatever reason, if you're going to be disposing it, same way, you get a colleague, you go into the locker, you open it up, you take the drug out, you go to your, you know, they've got this little tiny containers, you break it up. If they're in ampoules, if they're in tablet, whatever, you put it in that safe container, you close it up, you double sign with your colleague the date, the time, the medication form, the strength, the quantity that you have destroyed, and you get your colleague to countersign. So this is how to safely receive and dispose a controlled drug. The last but certainly not the least question is, if it's been reported to you, or if you have identified a bruise on your patient or a service user, what are you going to do? So an unexplained bruise, a bruise has just suddenly appeared on your resident's skin. You don't know where it is coming from. What do you want to do? The first thing you want to do is to assess the bruise, right? So you want to look at the bruise, look at the measurement of the bruise, look at the possible causes of the bruise, because sometimes it could come from medications. If the patient is taking a blood thinning medication, it could also come from certain conditions. If you've got a condition like, let's say, systemic lupus erythematosus, you can suddenly develop a bruise. It could also come from equipment use. So maybe they were using an equipment to, let's say, hoist the patient, a sling, a pat slide. It could be the equipment that has caused that bruise. The last thing that I can think of is malhandling of the patient or malhandling of the resident. So somebody has, let's say, you know, suddenly turned the person, or during personal care, they just rolled the person over and, you know, it caused a bruise on that person. So you are looking at the possible causes of the bruise. You are assessing the bruise and fully documenting the bruise. Make sure you fully document the bruise, right? So you are fully documented. The bruise is gone onto the patient document, is been reported. You can do an incident report to say that this is it. We've opened an investigation to see what the bruise is about. You also want to contact the next of kin or the person that's got the lasting power of attorney for this patient or resident to tell them that this is what we've discovered, or this is what we've seen about this person, but we are investigating and we'll get back to you with feedback as and when we've got them. So this is what I can actually wrap my head around. These are the 10 questions that I've picked up from across board. If I remember anything, I'm gonna definitely do a part 2. And as I always say, let your opportunity come to meet you prepared. So it doesn't matter the band role that you are in, let your opportunity come to meet you prepared. What I also want to say is that each and everybody who will come across this video, what I want you to do for me is that make sure that a year by now you will move from whatever level you are to another level. So if you're band 4, move to a band 5. If you're band 5, move to a band 6. If you're band 6, move to a band 7. If you're band 7, come on, move to a band 8. If you're band 8, head towards a band 9, right? Let's keep going to the top. I wish you all the very best wherever you are, from your transitioning from your role to another role. And until we meet again in my next video, guys, bye bye.